I wrote a little, this is a collection of poetry that was published a number of years ago. This is what I like. It's called The Stoic. Life beats against me as I go, but I embrace life, murmuring low, come lover, welcome, we are one. Why should we fight and spoil the fun? And so in honor of Lee's birthday, I also woke up about midnight, night before last, to write a little poem for her. Of course, she's not a senior citizen yet, but it's called Senior Citizen. I'm not like those
Junior, senior.
I'm seen around. I'm not like those I'm seen around. I'm here inside. I'm sorry I can't see very well, and I'm still young.
Can you start again?
Yeah, I'm not like those I'm seen among people. I'm seen among the older people. I'm here inside, and I'm still young. Gosh, I should have made it some bigger capital letters. The drooping parts and wrinkled skin. That's where my heart is hidden in. I hope that's the way I'm not going to talk a long time. What I'd rather do is just leave it open for questions, because I've been involved in so many things, and different people have made suggestions of what I should talk about. The research I did in 1954-55, psychic research, and we were doing remote viewing 15 years before the CIA did their project, Stargate. And they stopped it in 1965 when Ted Koppel kind of publicized that they were doing it. And of course, they supposedly stopped it. They went underground. You know they're still doing it. I know they are. But I've been involved in so many different things that I don't know what to talk about. But I'd rather just have you ask questions, and then I'll answer them.
Can I make a suggestion?
Sure.
Because you're such a lovely lady and you have such a beautiful energy and story. Would you please come back to another heart space?
Yes, the next heart space here you have to.
Thank you. Of course I would. A lot of things inspired me. I think poetry mainly. But what motivated me was my own background, because I had a very, very unhappy childhood. My father beat me, and he hit me over the head with a hammer one time. I think that might have caused a lot of my problems. He had an ear of corn. He was shelling corn. It was dry, you know, and he hit me over the head, and I can still see that shelled corn going down across my face. And you remember a little while back when that 13-year-old girl videotaped her father beating her? He was a judge. Yes. How many of you saw that? I couldn't watch that because I went through so much of that myself. And I know when I was determined I wasn't going to let it get me down, and I wouldn't cry. And so one day my father beat me so badly and I wouldn't cry. So he was sure he was going to make me cry. And so he broke the one switch and went out and got another one. When he broke the second one, he sort of gave up, threw it down, and slammed out the door. And I didn't cry till he went out the door. But once he got out the door, did I cry. So Mom checked my back, put salve on it. I had 42 welts, and some of them bloody. And I went out in the yard, and I said, I wish now remember, I was brought up in Baptist and Methodist Sunday schools, and God sees everything you do, and sees the sparrow that falls, and all those things. And so I was sure that God must know what's happening, so it didn't matter to me. I just said, I wish he'd die, I wish he'd die, I wish he'd die. And then I kept looking up into which clouds a lightning strike was going to strike me from, you know. And I could still see myself looking, and nobody struck me from the clouds. So I said, obviously, if there's a God, he'd strike me dead, because wishing your father would die would get you struck dead. And then, obviously, then there's no God. Well, I was an atheist before I even knew what the word atheist meant. So that's how I learned, by thinking for myself and figuring it out, and not taking other people's words for it. Examining everything, analyzing everything, and reading anything I could get my hands on. From the time I'd read the pages of the dictionary, the pages of the encyclopedia, just to learn the words and everything. I remember the excitement I felt when I came across the word duck-bill platypus.
Well, I just want to say one thing, but the main theme here, which I wanted to bring out to everyone, because I was so impressed with you, is that your spirit is so full of love. So I know that you are full of forgiveness, and that's something that we could talk about with the next meeting about how to forgive, because that's a biggie for many people who have had trauma to forgive and be soft and loving like you are, and that's.
Can I just ask, did you participate in the remote viewing yourself? You were,
Yeah, participating.
the remote viewing, were you actually doing
Oh, I was
the remote viewing?
I was experimenting in the early 50s, all the 5 major things that are involved in what they used to call spiritualism, PSI, whatever, now it's called extrasensory perception. And so my second husband and I, when we got married, we had more time than we had money, so I said, now we can do research. When I would read about people whom I admired, you know, Elizabeth Barrett Browning, William James, people like that, and I would get there, if they wrote about a biography, I'd get that and study that. And if anyone contemporary wrote about them, I'd get the biography and study that one. And hopefully if they were dead, somebody had written after they died. So you got a pretty good picture of what the people were like. And so often these are people who were interested in what we now call ESP. And I thought, if I saw it myself, I believe it. So I started studying about what was being done. It wasn't being done much in this country except Duke University, but McGill and the universities in Germany, and particularly in Russia, they were 20 years ahead of us. And so I started studying what was being done then and everything. So when I started in '54 to do the research, I had the benefit of what the old scientists had been trying to do, and they learned what not to do and so forth. And that's, I think, made it successful. And so during that time, we had some experiences of remote viewing. And so then I figured when we retire, my husband was excellent psychic. I trained him. And I said, I didn't really, he was a skeptical. He said his first wife was always having her hands red, her palm red and all that stuff, you know. He didn't believe any of it. So it took a while, but he came around and became fantastic. In fact, he just visited me. He's been dead now since 2010. This may blow your mind and make you think I'm crazy, but a couple of weeks ago, one night or one day, I don't remember which it was, but during the time it happened, it was supposed in the daytime. It was just like, you know, a real thing had happened, just as real as anything. We were squatted down, side by side, and touching each other, not looking at each other, but looking at a wall. And we were talking to each other, how can we get the light turned on the other side of that wall? And while we're doing that, the light came on the other side of the wall. You couldn't see the light bulbs or anything, but you could see that the light had come on, you know, from the reflection of the light. And about that time, I don't know whether he said it to me or I just heard it in the air, there's someone at the door. So it's just as natural as possible. I said, I'll get it. I got up, went to the front door, and there was a man standing in front of me whom I'd never seen, but right behind him was an old friend that I'd known since, well, I guess 60 years. He's dead now, but he was a reporter with me, and I knew him so well, he became friends of my husband and me. And he's standing behind the other man, and he said, the only thing that was said, he said as an introduction to me, this is Prager. Now, I didn't know whether I was getting it right or not, but phonetically I spelled it Prager. And off to the side someplace, I wasn't seeing him, was a third person, another person, but I don't know who it was. And no one understood anything, that was it, and they all just faded away. And so I figured we had always told each other when we died, either whichever one of us went, we'd do our best to get back through. And I'd already seen my husband in the bedroom one day standing in front of me, and we're happy and everything's fine. And so this was not unusual, it didn't scare me or anything. And when I was a little kid, I used to want to see a ghost. And of course I believed in ghosts, all the kids did, but it's scary, the very idea is scary. But I wanted to ask them where they lived and what they ate. I was a born investigator, I guess. So guess what, 85 years later, that was a couple of months ago, wasn't it? 85 years later, I'm sitting reading in my chair without anything, no television on, nothing, just sitting reading. And I felt I should look over to the side, and here's a ghost. I mean, literally a ghost. Looked like an Indian chief, all in white, not white like the Ku Klux Klan, because I know what they dress like. I fought with them for many years. But this was like he had white sheer nylon curtains over his body. And if you get food you want to put in the refrigerator, if you take the saran wrap and you sort of mold it around a piece of food or whatever and put it in the refrigerator, it looked as though it had been molded around his face, sort of, and down over his shoulders, and he's just standing straight like that. And all on down was all white with, I could glimpse the features through it, but I couldn't have told what the color.
You were haunting your ghost.
And I missed the chance to get him, ask him questions. I don't think he would have answered anyway. So I got on the phone and called Randy, and my voice was shaking so that he thought I was scared. I wasn't scared. I was shaken up, but it was exciting. And that's the sort of thing. And Randy and I decided, my husband's dead. We can't continue doing our research now, of course, after Alzheimer's and things. But Randy turns out, can I tell that? Sure. That Randy has this ability to project, and I didn't know that he read my manuscript on One Woman Search for ESP and about my efforts in doing projecting. He said, well, Virginia, I used to do that, checking in on what my buddies were doing or studying or whatever. He had never thought about that, and scientifically or anything, because he's often holistic medicine, a little different thing than what I'm doing. And I said, would you join me? We'll do some research, and we've been doing it. And so one of the things I instructed him and tested, we made sure we do. If you're doing this, we make sure, if possible, to get some kind of forensic evidence that we can tell other people. So that they say, if Virginia said she saw something, it wasn't her dreaming. Or Randy said he saw something, then he wasn't dreaming or whatever. And so one night, I look across at the bedroom wall, and here stands Randy, just standing there, with his cargo pants and the bags full of stuff, you know, pockets full of stuff. And he had on a black floppy hat. He never wears a hat, never saw it, let alone a black floppy hat. And so that was it. It's, while I'm watching, a friend was visiting me in the next room, right across the little hall. She came running in and said, did you hear that? And I said, hear what? She said, that awful noise that woke me up. I said, no, I was watching Randy. And he's disappearing, and he didn't hear the noise, neither did I, but she did, it woke her up. And I said, what were you doing, Randy? He said, I was doing some multi-dimensional testing. But he put the black hat on so that he knew that if he did get through to me, and I said he had on the black hat, it wasn't me dreaming about it or imagining it, which was actually, you know. So we've been doing things like that. We've been keeping track of everything we're doing. We hope eventually to write a book about it. And there's so many new things that are developing now that tie in with what we were doing. And the atmosphere is ready for it. As you
should have your own TV show.
If you think about this, Dr. Higgs, when he, in 1964, when he was working on the Higgs boson stuff, when he came up with the theory about electromagnetic field and energy and so forth, he was like outside the mainstream of science. But last year he got the Nobel Prize for his work. And the tunnel in Switzerland is named after the Higgs boson tunnel.
Oh, the Higgs boson particle.
It's named after him. So it took
The
a long
God
time,
particle.
It took a long time for people to acknowledge what he was doing.
Thank you so much.
It's all very exciting. So just get involved in something you like.
Someone has a question, one question, and then we have to dance because everyone's waiting. Yeah, go ahead.
I don't want to stop you from dancing.
I'm listening to you. I just want to know, is there a way to get some of your books?
Amazon.com. I brought a few of my poetry books with me.